get the finances.
That's it for now. More in an hour.
News Talk Weather.
Thanks to the AA. For great value home insurance, go online to theaa.ie.
Heavy showers or longer spells of rain across Leinster and Munster tonight, the worst of it in the east. Mostly dry and clear elsewhere with just scattered showers in the northwest. Overnight lows of between 1 and 6 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
The News Round on Off the Ball.
With Gilette, we don't just play the game, we change it. Gilette, made of what matters.
This is News Talk.
How's it going? You're welcome along. It's Thursdays Off the Ball. Nathan with you until 10 o'clock. So Dundalk on the cusp of a place in the Europa League and all the riches and rewards that brings with us. It's Faroese opposition for them this evening. We'll be across the Aviva Stadium. Will O'Callaghan is there for us, keeping us updated. And Brian Kerr, who knows all about football in the Faroe Islands, will join us on the football show as well. Also on the football show, we'll talk to Pádraig Amond, who's still playing with Newport, and we'll chat about lower league football at the moment, because very much uncertain times for players in those lower divisions. So that's after 9 o'clock. John Small, the Dublin footballer, who was part of that Ballymun Kickham's team, who put on a sensational display in the Dublin County Football final last weekend. He'll join us after 8 to talk about that, and about Jim Connolly's retirement from inter-county football. And it is Thursday, so John Giles will be with us at 7:30, reflecting on the week's football. 53106 is the text number, at Off the Ball on Twitter if you want to get in touch. The News Round, as always, brought to you with thanks to Gilette. We don't just play the game, we change it. Gillette, made of what matters. Richie McCormack is with us as always. Good evening, Richie.
Nathan, how are you?
Bohemians fan Richie McCormack. Good for the league if Dundalk win tonight, Richie? You'll be cheering them on.
Cheering might be a bit of a stretch. I'd actually I'm.
They might pay a couple of $100,000 for Danny Mandrew. You never know.
Well, that's the thing, and they'd be pretty silly to do so given his contractual situation. But no, I subscribe to that whole rising tide lifts all boats kind of thing. So it would do no harm for the league to have the added eyeballs on it that having a team in the Europa League group phase would afford us. And I think, when the president is tweeting about it, when the president is offering his best wishes before a match, you know it's a big occasion. It kind of is a measure of where Dundalk have led themselves this season. They've been somewhat fortuitous. The draw they've gotten has been good, between Inter Descaldes in Andorra and now beating Sheriff in Moldova. They've gotten themselves the easier route. One-legged affairs have helped them. But yeah, fingers crossed for tonight.
Richie, you're a man who knows his iconic duos, like Anterdek, Dalglish and Rush.
Yeah.
Hale and Pace. Give me some more, Richie. Give me some more.
It's a stretch.
Did that end badly?
Zig and Zag.
Zig and Zag, yeah, that's a good one.
Podge and indeed Chaz and Dave. Yes, the best duo of all. Podge and Rog, of course.
Podge and Rog. We, Richie, here and Off the Ball, were on the verge of having our very own iconic duo not that long ago, when we put together Keane and McGean. It was going to be glorious. And we had one episode and it was going places. And then, you know what happens sometimes when you have an iconic duo, Richie? One side starts thinking, I'm the big dog around here. I don't need the other one. Ciara McGean, sling your rook. The Ellen Keane show is where it's at right now. And Ellen Keane is also with us this evening. Jeez, that was harsh on Ciara McGean, wasn't it?
In fairness, she lives in Manchester, so and she's stuck over there, so it's hard for her to come over. I'd full on love to have the Keane McGean unleashed, but unfortunately, you snooze, you lose.
Oof.
So not only that, she's taken the Queen's shilling as well. This is disgraceful.
Wow. Yeah. Well, things haven't been going well for Ciara since, clearly.
Well, she got an Irish record or two, so she seems to be doing well over there.
Yeah, she's doing okay for herself. So it is now the Ellen Keane show. We may let Ciara back in at some stage. Or she might just get her own show, who knows. But the Ellen Keane show, as it's quickly becoming, is coming back. You were in studio today. You were recording a special episode that's going to go out next week in association with the Irish Wheelchair Association, and they are one of the many organisations that have been severely affected by COVID and their inability to fundraise. So you were chatting to a couple of people about that earlier. I know it's going to be live on all their channels next week.
Yeah. I was chatting to Orla Barry and John Fulham. Both are retired Paralympic athletes themselves, but we were talking more about what the IWA has done for us. And basically what's happened is they've had to cancel their annual collection, which they really rely on to be able to bring resources to people with disabilities. So they're looking to bring their fundraising online. So they're hoping to get people to donate via their website, which is iwa.ie.
So we're going to talk a lot more about that over the next week or so. Ideally, as we are in the beginning of October, we would have been talking to you October 2020, introducing you as Paralympic champion Ellen Keane, and it wasn't to be. And this time next year, it may well be. How are preparations? Where are preparations?
Preparations are mad. It's kind of even hard to think of Tokyo right now, just because we're trying to follow what's going on in the country itself and the restrictions that keep coming in. So even like last week I had a sniffle, and because I had a sniffle, I couldn't go training, and the doctor wanted me to wait 48 hours until I was symptom free. Like, I knew it was just a cold, but I didn't want to take the risk, because if one person in the pool gets COVID, the whole pool might have to shut down, or my whole team mightn't be allowed to train, and it's just a risk that we're not really willing to take. So I had to go get a COVID test, and I was out of the pool until I got my results back. So thankfully I'm COVID free, but just that little scare itself, like that little incident itself really gave me a scare, because it made me realize how I am being really, really good in terms of washing my hand. I said hand, not hands. Making sure I have my mask on, making sure I'm socially distant, but it's also just to be really, really aware of my body and to make sure I read the signs and protect everyone else. But other than that, I'm still training. I'm back in the pool. Things are going, we're kind of taking it week by week to see where things will go. We don't have any update in terms of competitions, which is quite hard in terms of having something to train towards.
So when was the last time you actually competed?
Oh my God, the last time I actually competed was January. And the whole reason why the last time was January was because I was supposed to go on a tour in April. So we were supposed to be on a training camp in March, I think in Cyprus. But for some reason, thankfully, we ended up doing our training camp in Dublin, and it was the same week that like Dublin went into lockdown. So thankfully we were in Dublin for that, but then all of our competitions got cancelled. I was supposed to go to 3 different countries in April to compete, and that didn't happen. So I'm literally, I feel so lost without competition. I just can't wait to get back and race. And the worst part about competing as well is putting on a racing suit. And there were times during lockdown where I put it on anyway, just to practice, to make sure I still fit, to make sure I still know how to get in.
Oh God, yeah.
I think that's the
times are
challenge
tough.
that Off the Ball should do.
What?
Have like a competition to see who can get into a racing suit the quickest without ripping the suit. That would be entertaining for everyone to watch.
Trust me, nobody wants to see me getting into a racing suit anytime.
You never know.
Even if the country goes into a second lockdown, there's extremes for everybody. And I think for both myself and Richie, that'd be pushing the boundaries a little bit too much.
I'd be worried that BAI complained to be in the offing if I was to do anything like that.
Absolutely. Are you out in Abbottstown then? You're based out in the...
Yeah, I am. I'm training with, I'm still training with my swim team. So thankfully, my coach and the club itself were able to do everything necessary to make sure that the club was able to go back. For the first few weeks though, it was just me and my 2 fellow teammates who are Paralympic swimmers, Patrick Flanagan and Nicole Turner. And that was quite hard as well, because we were so used to having a team environment around us, and it was just the 3 of us for ages. So we're so glad to have the team back together.
We're very quick at times to question the lack of facilities we have, but I've been out in Abbottstown a few times over the last few weeks, particularly around Republic of Ireland training, who do all their training out there now. There's a huge indoor facility that the Irish football, the FAI share with the IRFU. Like, every time you go out, there's another giant sporting arena. And it's a brilliant thing that we should be proud of. Have you got good access to those facilities? Have you had facilities, specific facilities that you need?
Well, in an ideal world, wouldn't everyone love to have their own performance centre? I think
everybody seems to have their own performance centre out there.
Yeah. So I think that would be the dream for Paralympic swimming, is to have our own performance centre. Even like a tiny little 25-metre pool with 2 lanes would be great. But we just have to go based off what's available. And that's mostly why I train with a club as well, is because there's more lane availability if you train with a club.
Okay. Right, so a little bit of work still to do.
A little bit of work. We'll get there.
We'll come back to that. 53106 is the text number if anyone has any text. Ellen and Richie with us for the news round. John Giles coming your way at 7:30. But we're going to be across, Richie, to the Aviva over the course of the evening. Huge night then for Dundalk. Team news in?
Yeah, Team News is in from Dundalk this evening. And as expected, Chris Shields, as we know, was suspended for tonight's game. Patrick McElhenney comes back into the side. There's also room this evening for the 39-year-old keeper, Gary Rogers, who keeps his place in goal. And a 7:30 start to that one. KI largely unchanged from their 6-1 demolition, it should be mentioned, over Dinamo Tbilisi, which came this time last week. Dundalk also taking time pre-match as well to pay tribute to one of their former players, Robbie Brunton, who passed away. It was announced today at the age of 47, a veteran of both Bohemians and indeed of Sligo Rovers along the way as well. We're bringing that team in full. The Dundalk side, that is. Gary Rogers in goal. Sean Hoare, Brian Gartland, Dan Cleary and Dara Leahy are their back four. In midfield, then we have Greg Sloggett and Patrick McElhenney in front of them. Goal scorer from last week is Murray. And Michael Duffy and Kolovich are in support of Patrick Hubin up front. Andy Boyle is on the bench, as is Dave McMillan, if they need a goal in the second half. But Filippo Giovagnoli has already insisted that Dundalk are good enough to win this within the 90 minutes.
Let's go across to the Aviva. Will O'Callaghan is there for us this evening. Evening, Will.
Yeah, good evening, Ellen and Richie and Nathan. Welcome along to what's a pretty expectant Aviva Stadium ahead of this game. Not just in terms of the Dundalk staff and some of the Dundalk supporters I was talking to on the way in. Some of them have travelled just to be in Dublin without even being able to get into the stadium. But also the UEFA magazine are here currently, and they're filming Dundalk in expectation that they'll be going to the Loud Town tomorrow to actually broadcast the draw when it takes place at around 12. So they'll have a trip to the Faroe Islands if Dundalk were to be shocked this evening. But the expectation from UEFA is that the League of Ireland champions will be advancing to the group stage for the first time since 2016.
On a scale of 1 to 10, very annoying things to happen. In a stadium that there is absolutely nobody at the game, we still have the loudest... God almighty. Can you tell him to keep quiet there?
Always the loudest PA.
It is.
Always the loudest.
What's he doing? What's he talking about?
Probably the loudest PA system in the civilised world. And I think if Stephen Doyle had been here, as he normally would be on this Thursday night, he would have enjoyed the fact that we had back-to-back Bob Marley tracks just before you came across to speak to me. But yeah, the PA has been going here since about 5:30 and just reading random notices. And I'm assuming that they're going to play music or perhaps crowd noise after goals go in too, because it was kind of an upsurge of a crowd noise played earlier on. So that's my suspicion. They're now reading out the teams to an entirely non-existent crowd. So some people understandably got in a bit earlier to put some flags up on what would have been the old North Terrace once upon a time, the small seats on the lower side of the stadium, but they've gone back out now at this point, and there's probably about maybe 25 or 30 media here, the two squads and the officials, and that's about it. And we're being treated to both full squads being read out currently.
The opportunity is huge then for Dundalk. Win tonight, 3 million, and the opportunity to go up against the likes of Tottenham, Leicester, all sorts of brilliant European names in the group stage. The alternative doesn't really bear thinking about, because albeit this side won against Dinamo Tbilisi 6-1, an Irish side losing to a team from the Faroe Islands of a game of this importance would be pretty hard to take.
Yeah, look, it's like Richie said earlier, this has played out very nicely from the point that Dundalk were knocked out of the Champions League qualifiers. They then had the upheaval of switching around their management with Vinnie Pert leaving and the Italian management coming in, headed up by Filippo Giovagnoli. And then they get the Andorra champions away from home, a trip to Moldova last week, winning on penalties, and it's set up to play a team who are from a country ranked outside the 100 in Europe in the Faroe Islands, a team who are champions of the Faroe Islands for the first time in 20 seasons. It really is perfectly set up to try and qualify for the group stages. You mentioned the riches that go along with this. A guaranteed pot of €2.9 million just for getting to the group stage draw, and then additional money for any draw or win that would take place in the group stages. If you consider that Dundalk have lost 1.8 million over the last couple of seasons, peak six, you would think, and from speaking to Filippo Giovagnoli yesterday, he said that was one of the expectations when he was appointed, was that Dundalk were looking to qualify for European football proper. It makes their project entirely justified if they're to qualify. And if you think about it, Nathan, it's season defining. If they lose this game, they're going to have a fight to try and qualify for Europe next season with the way their form has been in the league, and then you're fighting it out for the FAI Cup, and that's all they have left for the last 2 months of the season. If they qualify for the Europa League group stages, albeit they've lost their title to Shamrock Rovers, it still makes it an exceptional season if they were to qualify.
I feel like maybe you're just at home, and to make it authentic, you got one of your mates to start shouting really loud in that we believe you'd made the trip up to Dublin from the Midlands. Jeez, he's still going. How many people are in the squads? Before we let you go, Will, because this is getting very annoying, there was a lot of love for Filippo on the show last night. You know, we might go for a socially distant pint with him sometime. You met him yesterday, you spent a bit of time in his company. Is he all that?
Yeah, pretty charming guy, Nathan. That's the one thing that really stood out from my conversation with him. Couldn't have been, any kinder with the time that he afforded to us and all the other media outlets when we were here yesterday. And he comes across as a guy who is, he feels that there's a project here, and I think he knows that if they were to qualify for the Europa League, there's a very good chance that he's handed a contract to be here beyond the end of the season. Like many of those more than half a dozen Dundalk players who are currently sitting over their contract situation, if they weren't to qualify, it probably becomes more difficult for Dundalk to carry on with the current group of players that they have. But you look at the experience that's across that team for this evening. There's players who were there in 2016 and played in the group stages. Richie mentioned, Gary Rogers, Brian Gartland, who captains the team tonight. The only real kind of changes that we were looking to see what would happen here would be if Andy Boyle would be put straight back into defence. But they've stuck with Gartland and Dan Cleary in the centre of defence. Former Bohemians player and Republic of Ireland under-21 international Darragh Leahy will play at left back. I think everyone was expecting that Sean Horn, as the PA finally finishes, will play it right back, given that Sean Gannon picked up that ankle injury in Moldova last week. The thing is, I asked Filippo Giovannioli if they were changing shape or changing tactics in any way.
Filippo, we just call him now, by the way, Will. Filippo.
He can be just Filippo from now on. They've gone from a 4-2-3-1, which they played previously under Vinnie Perth and under Stephen Kenny, to what seems to be a more orthodox 4-3-3, because McElhaney appears to have gone into the left side of a 3, with Sloggett and Murray also in midfield alongside him, and they're going to play with the two wingers pushed a bit further up in Duffy and Kolovich behind Patrick Hubin. So it's a slight change. I mean, he hasn't gone in and changed a massive amount, but it looks like McElhaney will perhaps play a little bit further back. I was kind of expecting that maybe McElhaney would play behind Hubin, but all the talk here in the press box is that McElhaney's going to play a bit further back in midfield. All right,
thanks a lot, Will. We'll be across to you over the course of the evening. 7:30 start?
7:30 start.
7:30. All right, so we'll hear plenty more from Will. Ellen, if and hoping the Paralympics go ahead next year, would it mean as much to you if there's nobody there, if it goes ahead behind closed doors?
Yeah, well, swimming's a bit different because once you Take Your Marks go, and even at Take Your Marks, it's completely silent. Like, it goes completely silent. And I walk out with like big headphones on or soundproof headphones on anyway.
What are you
so
listening
I don't even notice the crowd. It depends what mood I'm in. If I'm like really nervous, I'll have to listen to something to like chill me out. So my actual go-to to chill me out is like the Coronas. And then if I need to get like more in the zone, it would be Eminem, the usual.
Right. Richie, there is a lot.
Even listening to that PA though, I was getting a little bit like, oh, I miss stadiums.
So you want the PA, do you? Stadium, so no matter what happens, if there's no crowd, if there's nobody there, you still want your name being said as loud as possible.
Yeah, I want it as realistic as possible.
All right, well, just be aware, it's very annoying for everybody else, but I'm glad you're happy.
That's all that matters.
Richie, there is a lot more football going on tonight as well.
Yeah, a 5:30 start to this evening's first Carabao Cup fourth round tie, and a little bit of a vignette about what probably should have happened in the Championship playoff final last season. Brentford in stoppage time are leading Fulham by 3-0. So Brentford heading through to this evening's quarter-final draw. It's scoreless at Villa Park between Aston Villa and Stoke. Nathan Collins has started for Stoke. There's no James McLean involved for the visitors tonight. And at 7:45, Liverpool take on Arsenal. Virgil van Dijk, James Milner and Mo Salah all start for Liverpool in that game tonight. A 7:45 start to that one, and a quarter-final draw made afterwards. Dublin, meanwhile, will have to go into the Championship without Jack McCaffrey, and now Diarmuid Connolly, the St Vincent's clubman, has decided to retire from intercounty football after a career which saw him win 6 All-Irelands and 2 All-Stars. He made the announcement on social media via Dublin GAA late last night, and former Kerry forward Kieran Donaghy told this morning's OTB AM that Connolly was their primary concern when playing the Dubs.
How much of a concern was he on any given day taking on the Dubs?
Look, I suppose when it came to the tail end of my career, he was one of many, but he was always top of the list for guys to try and watch out for. And obviously, you're putting one of your best defenders on him. But of course, he's a thorn in his side because of his raw power and speed, combined with being able to kick off either leg, combined with being fantastic in the air, combined with being able to pick off passes that most other humans can't see, and having a bit of an edge and having a bit of I liked the bit of an edge he had. I liked that side of him on the pitch, because he was never going to back down. You weren't going to push him around the place, and he fitted well into that Dublin team. There had a lot of fellas at the back like that, but he was probably the main guy in the forwards that would set the tone with body language and not taking a backward step. And he did that his whole career. And he was a joy to watch on any given day, bar the times he beat us when he was a pain to watch.
Yeah, any amount of tributes for Jim Connolly today, and we're going to talk to one of his teammates. John Small is going to be with us just after 8 o'clock. Some pretty serious news coming in horse racing, Richie? Very much so, yeah. Oisin Murphy says he'll do everything he can to prove he has never taken cocaine. The UK flat racing champion jockey is facing a 6-month ban after testing positive in France on July 19th. Murphy was informed of his positive result a month later, and he underwent his own testing, which returned completely negative results. He must now await the results of his official B sample, and as I say, a 6-month ban is in the offing for the Killarney man. Connor in Limerick has been in touch. As professional journalists, which is never a good start to a text, because broadcaster, not a journalist. They're saying that in a certain tone. As professional journalists, could you spend a few seconds discussing why a team that beat Dinamo Tbilisi 6-1 should be written off so completely by you? I'm not. No, I don't think anyone was. But the point I was trying to make is, if a team from Ireland ends up losing to the team from the Faroe Islands, the vast majority of people aren't going to look at the 6-1 win. They're just going to go, how the hell did this happen, that the champions of Ireland were beaten by a team from the Faroe Islands? But they have shown they clearly have something about them. We'll talk to Brian Kerr a lot more, probably post-match, about just how good this team are or were and how they got to this stage. Tell Will it was known as the Havelock Square end. Yeah. What was Will talking about? North Terrace. Okay, the small one. Yeah, the Havelock Square end, yeah. Are those little houses behind it? Yeah, I think that's why they had to make the stand as small as it is. Guys, I will pay, to ensure this idea of getting into a training suit never happens, says Bobby in Castleconnell. I'm serious, by the way. I'll pay more.
I think we should make it a charity event.
It can't be that difficult, really.
They can't corner us by saying it's going to be a charity event, because then we feel awful when it's like we have to say no.
Then. It's a little bit more difficult for girls, though, because there's more material.
It's a little bit more difficult when you're 6-foot apes like us.
It's more okay, new challenge. You have to do it with one hand.
With one arm tied behind our back, I don't think anyone wants to.
Okay, fair enough.
No, it's not going to end. None of this is going to end well for us. You are not going to be welcome back to the news round again with these sort of ideas.
But you're in the business of entertainment, so.
Well, that's up for debate. Not this sort of entertainment. 53106.
Sports entertainment.
Keep the texts coming in. By the way, next Monday, which is the 5th of October, we're going to be sitting down for an in-depth chat with Gary Neville and Teddy Sheringham as part of our Cadbury FC series of the shows. You can check out cadburyfc.com for updates, promotions and giveaways. So that'll be coming your way across the weekend. We'll have some of that on Saturday for you as well, through until Monday on all our social channels and here on the radio as well. Champions League draw made, Richie?
Yeah, Manchester United handed the toughest draw of the Premier League sides involved. They have to play PSG, RB Leipzig and Istanbul Başakşehir. Liverpool were drawn with Ajax for a first meeting between the sides since 1966, would you believe? Atalanta and Michelin to round out that group. Manchester City are paired with Porto, Olympiacos and Marseille, while Chelsea have Europa League winners Sevilla, Krasnodar and Rennes. And there's the prospect of Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi being reunited, as Juventus and Barcelona share Group G with Dinamo Kiev and the Hungarians of Ferencváros.
All right, thanks for that, Richie. Any other stories you want to quickly run us through?
We will go through the Glanmire story, because this was all over social media overnight and this morning. The GAA have reminded clubs across the country of their responsibilities relating to the COVID-19 guidelines. Cork GAA put special emphasis on this afternoon. It follows the tweeting of a video by the Glanmire club last night of celebrations marking a late point in the Cork minor final football win over Douglas. Little to no social distancing was in evidence, and Glanmire have since deleted the video.
Yeah, I am wary of making rash judgments on social media videos of exactly where people are sitting and how close they are, and we don't know who's a family member of whom and all of that. But it didn't look good, to put it mildly. And even some of the photographs of indoors, and unfortunately you can't celebrate the way you would want to celebrate. That is the price you got to pay for getting football and getting sport back.
Yeah, I think it's just important for all athletes to make sure that they need to protect their sport. If an outbreak happens in their sport, they're not going to be able to play or compete. So just need to be sensible.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we are done for this evening with the news round. John Giles is on the way next. Richie, thank you as always.
I'm off to practice in my wetsuit.
Yeah. Ellen, I would say you'd be invited back, but after that crazy suggestion, which is going to haunt us and haunt the listeners for a long time, I'm not quite sure. And also, the way you savagely dumped Ciara McGeehan like that. Unforgivable.
Right, I'm going to go look up racing suits now for you guys. Get your measurements.
The latest episode of the Ellen Keane Show, which we were just talking about with the Irish Wheelchair Association, that is going to be live on all our social channels from Monday. You'll hear it across the week as well on OTB AM and on the radio, and we'll share it out and all that. So that is to look forward to. Ellen, thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you.
John Giles up next.
The News Round on Off the Ball.
With Gilette, we don't just play the game, we change it. Gilette, made of what matters.